won't hear this on the radio.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. Is the price worth it? The price, we think the price is worth it.
Listen, I really think the media is...
Because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Could you look me in my eyes and just lie to me?
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
They burn these fucking people alive because the message they want to convey to you is state power will always win.
You're listening to Below the Tension Podcast.
Open up your eyes, 'cause maybe it's all lies. I'm trying to make a way.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the show. This is the Saturday show. I have decided to now lock down a weekday episode. I will be doing episodes every Wednesday and every Saturday, twice a week. So that is the schedule I'm going to stick to for now. So set your clocks. Subscribe to me on YouTube, The Slavic Libertarian. Follow me on Twitter, Slav Libertarian. Subscribe to my RSS feed. The link is on my Twitter, and you can catch me every Wednesday and every Saturday evening. Now, as many of you may know, this weekend is the Libertarian Party convention in Orlando, Florida, and tonight they will choose the Libertarian Party nominee. Now, why this is so important, also what you may already know, is that this cycle has the potential to be one of the greatest cycles for a third party in a long time, considering the current political climate. Now, I have been given some information from the convention. One of the delegates, they just cast the vote to get on to the ballot. So this is not the nomination itself. This is the votes to be on the ballot to then be voted on later in the evening. And this is breaking news here, but it seems that Gary Johnson, just off of this poll, just off of this voting round, seems to be way ahead of any of his other contenders. As it sits right now, Gary Johnson sat at 221 votes. The nearest competitor, Darryl Perry, with 105. That's how far ahead Gary Johnson is in the Libertarian Party convention. And this is, for lack of a better term, a straw poll. This is basically a poll to get onto the Libertarian nomination ballot that is then voted on later in the evening tonight. So, seems if this support stands as it is, if this is a good representation, more or less, of how the convention's going, it looks like Gary Johnson is going to be the nominee tonight. It's not official, but that's really how it's looking right now. So you heard it here first, folks. And considering the Libertarian Party nomination, I was on Twitter pretty much on and off all day. I went to the gym earlier, and I noticed that one of the mainstream media people is at the convention, and she said something to the effect that Austin Peterson's people are joking about hiring hookers to cast votes. And basically it was sloughed off as, that's just humor, blah, blah, blah. They didn't know, they weren't on record, lady. But the point is that somebody tweeted at her and said, libertarians are just genuinely weird people. This is honestly the norm. The press just hadn't cared yet. Well, number one, before I get to the rebuttal there, thanks for caring now, I guess. I guess this is, even though it's a criticism, it's also an admission. But I quoted that and replied, you have Hillary, this criminal war hawk, squawking over everyone, flapping her devil wings, and you have this buffoon, bloated, yellow-faced chum guzzler, fascist, yet we're the weirdos. You have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump as the presumptive nominees, yet we're the weirdos. K. And you can see that on my Twitter feed at @SlavLibertarian. Jump in and let this person know what you think. Now, I got a lot of other news today. I'm going to continue with politics, and then I'm going to get into some economics, and then I'm going to get into some Rand Paul news. This really didn't make a lot of headlining news, but it is a headlining story. So I will cover that at the end of the show, and smashed in between is some media critiques, I guess you could call it. I'll get to that soon. It's really strange how these two things popped up for me and how I was able to put them together. But anyways, I will get to that in the last part of the half hour. So continuing with politics, as everyone knows, Clinton had a very, very hard week. She was the target of a new State Department release criticizing her. Bernie and Trump decided to debate each other and totally leave her out, which for Trump was a brilliant move, if I do say so. Totally sidelined her, and I don't know what Bernie's thinking, but it's really devastating for the Democratic Party as a whole if Bernie didn't end up being a nominee, which we all know is highly unlikely. Incredible revelation if it actually does go through, but even if it doesn't, it made a buttload of news this week. But these articles talk about basically that release, Clinton's unexcusable, willful disregard for the rules. A new report from the State Department Inspector General makes it clear that this was not a casual oversight. Mrs. Clinton had plenty of warnings to use official government communications methods so as to not make her records so vulnerable. She ignored them. And the article goes on to explain exactly all the warnings she was given and this, that, and the other. I talked about it in one of my first episodes. I think it was episode 1 or 2. A article that I think everyone should read. Again, I said that before, but now that this has come back out, it's called Hillary Has an NSA Problem, and it's written by a guy who knows what he's talking about. As I said before when I covered that article on one of the first few episodes, I have held a top secret with an SCI caveat since 2008. So I know what the processes are for classified information and handling and all of that. Read that article, and that guy uses terminology and he uses it correctly. He knows what he's talking about. Even that article right there, what the State Department said, doesn't even scratch the surface. Take a look at that article, read through it. It is incredible because the whole thing is, well, she just didn't know. No. There is evidence, hard facts, that not only did some of her internal people and State Department assistants and all this kind of stuff send her emails, oh, Hillary, hey, you should stop. No, the NSA complained about her, and she still didn't give a shit. But, she wants to be president, so cool. And on to more political news. And this piggybacks on my other episode, The Trump Deception. And this came out on the 26th. Donald Trump, campaign chief, just made an amazing admission about his candidate. Here's the one thing that Paul Manafort said that amazed me the most. It came in response to Feynman's question about Trump's incredibly controversial proposal in late 2015 to place a temporary ban on Muslims entering the United States. And this is a quote here. He's already started moderating on that. This is Paul Manafort. He operates by starting the conversation at the outer edges and then bringing it back towards the middle. Within his comfort zone, he'll soften it some. He's still outside the norm, but in line with what American people are thinking. And this is the Washington Post saying, wait, what? If there are two seminal moments in Donald Trump's march to the campaign nomination, there were a proposal to build a big, beautiful wall on the southern border and make Mexico pay for it, and B, a temporary ban on Muslims. But according to Manafort, the whole ban Muslims thing was more of a negotiation tactic than an actual policy position for Trump. Incredible. Like I said, if you go back and listen to my episode of The Trump Deception, this just doubles down on everything that I criticize Trump for. Continuing. Trump doesn't have a deeply held policy position. Everything is negotiable. Everything can be adjusted. That is the Washington Post. Incredible. Let's go on to economic news. Ex-McDonald's CEO says that raising the minimum wage will help robots take jobs. Duh. A former McDonald's chief executive has warned that raising the minimum wage will spur unemployment as companies will instead employ robots that work for less. Duh. I guarantee you, if the $15 minimum wage goes across the country, you're going to see job loss like you can't even believe, said Edward Renzi, the former CEO. It's cheaper to buy a $35,000 robotic arm than it is to hire an employee who is insufficiently making $15 an hour bagging French fries. Now, to a leftist or a Democrat, that might just seem like just the most heartless statement anyone could ever make in their life. Oh my God. It has nothing to do with emotion. It all has to do with economics. He's just telling the truth. That's how it's going to flesh out whether you feel bad about it or not. Renzi, who was the McDonald's CEO from 1991 to 97, isn't the only fast food executive to be concerned about the consequences of raising the minimum wage. Wendy's is currently testing self-service kiosks in a few restaurants and exploring broader use of the technology to mitigate rising labor costs. No, I have another report here saying that by the end of the year, these self-service kiosks will be in every single Wendy's across the nation. And Renzi continues, we've got unemployment in the black community, which is staggering. Young black men are over 50% unemployed, and we're talking about a $15 minimum wage? It's nonsense. These are entry-level jobs, and he's, again, absolutely correct. But he's so heartless. He's smart. A French fryer, a bagger, a cashier, working in retail, that is supposed to be easy to get, and then you gain experience, and then you can demand a higher paying job. I worked for McDonald's for 3 years. Can I be shift lead? Can I be store manager? Can I be whatever? Yeah, you know how the restaurant works, and you've done a good job. Please, take $15 an hour as a shift manager. That's how it works, folks. Okay, and moving on to the media news I talked about earlier, there's two sets of stories that came up. One was about North Korea, and I'm not going to read the articles because I frankly don't care, but I wanted to just point this out to you guys And this applies to both sets of these articles. The first one, published on May 25th by the Washington Post, an American GI defects to North Korea. Now his sons are propaganda stars. May 25th. May 27th, the secret life of Kim Jong-un's aunt who has lived in the U.S. since 1998. Isn't it kind of strange that these two exposés would follow each other like that? It's like they think we're children. That we can't handle that Americans would defect to North Korea, so we have to, well, we have his aunt. Yeah, so what? Kim Jong-un went to school in Switzerland his whole life. Who cares if his aunt's over here? But that in itself is coincidental. But then on May 19th, and I actually covered this story when it came out 2 episodes ago, I believe. Superbugs could kill more people than cancer, report warns. So this report warned that superbugs are on the verge. May 27th, a little over a week later, with the same picture as the story headline picture, these purple-looking bacteria things, and I will splash both of these up on the screens as I'm discussing them for YouTube viewers. And you can, if you're listening audio only, you can look at the video by subscribing to me on YouTube, The Slavic Libertarian. So, superbugs warning could kill more than cancer. May 19th. May 27th, a little over a week later, the superbug that doctors have been dreading just reached the U.S. Incredible. And this is one I'll actually cover briefly. For the first time, researchers have found a person in the United States carrying bacteria resistant to antibiotics of last resort, an alarming development that the top U.S. public health officials say could mean the end of the road for antibiotics. Pretty scary. The author wrote that the discovery heralds, quote, an emergence of a truly pan-drug resistant bacteria. Colistin is the antibiotic of last resort for particularly dangerous superbugs. This is the first time that a colistin-resistant strain has been found in a person in the United States. So it's here, folks. Already, doctors have been forced to rely on colistin as last-line defense against antibiotic-resistant bacteria. The drug is hardly ideal, though. It is more than a half-century old and can seriously damage the patient's liver. It's funny how the media does that. Those two North Korea stories following each other and then the superbug story. It's almost like they knew it was coming. Now, on to my last article here, and this is the Ron Paul news. And this was an editorial that he put out in Time magazine, I believe. Didn't print out for me. But it was an op-ed titled, Senator Rand Paul, We Must Restore Congressional Authority on Declaring War. You know, back in the day, before the War Powers Act, the Congress had to cast a yes or no, up or down vote to declare war on somebody. Now we just have authorizations of war that are never ending. We've been using the same authorization for force since 2001, which is what we've been using to fight against ISIS in Syria and Iraq. Now, on to his article. I will be introducing an amendment to the upcoming defense bill that will state in no uncertain terms that the president cannot use vague, out-of-date authorities to send our troops to war. My amendment will state that this is the sense of the Senate that the 2001 9/11 use of force and 2002 Iraq War use of force do not apply to today's war in Iraq and Syria, and that if war is to continue, there must be a declaration of war by Congress. Our generation cannot be bound to perpetual war. Our Constitution mandates that war be authorized by Congress, period. Absolutely. And that was a op-ed by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, former Republican candidate, nomination candidate. And that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, the Libertarian Party convention will be tonight, so there will be a Libertarian Party nominee as of this evening. Keep an eye out for that. Please subscribe to my podcast, Below the Tension, on iTunes. I am on SoundCloud. You can just go straight to my RSS feed. My RSS feed link is available on my Twitter, @SlavLibertarian. Please give me a follow and check that out. Or you can find me on YouTube, The Slavic Libertarian, and it's the playlist Below the Tension, where you can find all of the episodes, the Trump one, and everything. Thank you guys for listening, and have a nice day.